Simon Marks is in Washington, D.C. and, I don't know, Simon, do I need to ask you a question? Shall I just put a penny in the slot and see what happened?
Well, I have to say, James, I woke up here, about an hour ago, and read that the Prime Minister thinks that a calm discussion with President Trump is the way out of the particular thicket in which we all now find ourselves, and that he wants to search for this is a quote, solution rooted in partnership, facts, and mutual respect. Now, can we just break that down? I mean, partnership, Donald Trump demonstrably has absolutely no interest in. I mean, I think we can all agree that after 364 days of this, partnership is definitely not something he gives a fig about. Facts, well, I mean, I don't even need to deal with that. Obviously, this is not an administration in any way rooted in facts. In fact, they are so now rooted in what they used to call during the first term alternative facts, that as we see repeatedly at the White House briefing and saw as recently as last week, if you don't accept their alternative version of the facts, you are accused of being a radical left propagandist who shouldn't even be in the room pretending to be a journalist. That's how far that's gone. And mutual respect. I mean, where's the mutual respect in a US-UK relationship that has seen a partial trade deal that has gone completely off the rails in the months since it was hailed by the Prime Minister as a breakthrough, a national security strategy that makes it, I cannot emphasize this enough, official government policy here in the United States to help Nigel Farage win the keys to number 10. A situation where 5 European citizens, 2 of them from Britain, were sanctioned within the last month by the United States government for trumped-up charges of restricting the freedom of speech of Americans and American companies. A situation in which Elon Musk, within the last few days, has accused the British Prime Minister of fascism. A situation in which Donald Trump is suing the BBC for $10 billion, a defamation lawsuit where in reality, in the real world, the BBC ought to be suing him for defamation, and a situation where for the last year, we've all basically been told we've got to suck it up, Ukraine's going to have to give away massive parts of its territory to the Russians, and that's just the way the world is, because Donald Trump wants to get his hands on rare earths, minerals on both sides of that Ukraine-Russia border. That's before we get to Venezuela and the purloining of Venezuelan oil that is taking place. So we're going to do this based on partnership, facts, and mutual respect.
And mature
Tell
alliances.
me how that's going to work.
And mature alliances, Simon. Mature alliances.
It's just laughable.
Could he have done anything else? I'm tempting you into analysis now, but you've written an excellent piece for the LBC website. You don't address this question, but I'm just bigging up your powers of analysis more generally. Could he have done it? Could he have done anything else?
Well, I think there's all sorts of things that could have been done. I mean, as I say on that website piece, I mean, have we called the US Ambassador Warren Stevens to the Foreign Office for a carpeting? I don't think so. Why have we not done that? Traditionally, we absolutely would do that when other governments engaged in this kind of brutish behaviour. Have we announced that we are now permanently and irrevocably going to close Britain's supermarket doors to American beef and chlorinated chicken and other inferior agricultural products that Donald Trump insists we need to accept as part of a trade agreement? Have we told them that the King and the Queen and the Prince of Wales and the Princess of Wales are not coming to America? We're cancelling the visits. The King and the Queen don't need to travel to the United States to celebrate America's 250th birthday after all of this. And the Prince and Princess of Wales similarly are not going to attend the FIFA World Cup and absolutely are not going to stick around for July the 4th. Have we told them that? Have we told them that we've put their majesties through enough of all of this with absolutely no return for the investment that's been made. And critically, I think, James, have we made any representations to them about whether the UK is now going to limit intelligence sharing, which leaves us legally in the frame for any of the erratic behaviour that Donald Trump commits on the world stage, at a time when, in that extraordinary letter to the Norwegian Prime Minister, attacking him, for not giving him the Nobel Peace Prize, even though, of course, the Norwegian Prime Minister and government has nothing to do with the Nobel Peace Prize, he says, "I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America." A man who within the last 10 days has said, "I don't need international law, I will be guided by my own morality." Are we okay continuing to be part of the Five Eyes partnership and sharing intelligence with this US government so Donald Trump can then use that intelligence and be guided by his own morality in the decisions that he makes on the world stage? I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, but it seems to me to say nothing about any of those issues will leave the American president waking up here in Washington, D.C. this morning, actually waking up in Mar-a-Lago this morning down in Florida, because it's a holiday here today. I think it will leave him once again sensing the unmistakable aroma of weakness emanating from number 10 Downing Street.
But not from Brussels, and Starmer was a signatory to the altogether more robust joint response yesterday. And now to the question I've asked you in various different contexts about 7 million times this year alone. As you say, tomorrow the first anniversary of this administration. Is any of this concerning or motivating Republicans in America, his facilitators, his supporters, his base?
Yeah, we definitely saw some moves over the weekend. I think it was really notable that Congressman Mike McCall, who is a Republican very, very steeped in international affairs, one of the thinkers in the Republican Party about foreign affairs, appeared on ABC yesterday and said that he believed that the president needed to understand that were he to engage in military action to try and seize Greenland, that was tantamount to declaring war on NATO. He argued absolutely correctly, as the Danish government argues, that the 1951 treaty that was signed between the United States and Denmark allows President Trump to do whatever he wants to do in Greenland. And the Danes keep saying to him, you don't need to own it. You can come here and we can have a conversation, and that treaty allows you to build as many military bases on Greenland soil as you want.
Yes.
We can talk about everything within the framework of that 1951 treaty. And Congressman McCall was basically saying, not just to the television audience, but I think to the Republican Make America Great Again faithful, this is crazy. He said, to buy Greenland, it's got to be a willing seller, willing buyer arrangement, and there's absolutely no willing seller out there that he could identify. So why not just do what we know we can do, which is use that 1951 treaty to expand America's footprint in Greenland and stop all of the nonsense. But as you were saying at the beginning of the hour, the nonsense is all about territorial expansion, and it's all about when he spins that globe of the world, he sees that massive stars and stripes right on the top of it, and he looks at it and he says, I did that.
Yeah, I think you've not been wrong about much, if indeed anything, lately, up to and including the concerns you were among the first to express about the likelihood of the midterms even going ahead. But we haven't got time to get into that now because, we've got to get into this. $1 billion to join Donald Trump's, what is it? Just a kind of UN light, a pound shop United Nations, or $1 billion shop United Nations?
Yeah, I think it's not a pound shop United Nations. I mean, it is evident from the reporting that was published over the weekend by Bloomberg that this Board of Peace, we all have to understand, is not simply about Gaza. When it was first mooted, this was going to be, the governing administrative function that was going to oversee Gaza post-conflict. in Donald Trump's mind and the minds of the people that are pushing this, particularly Jared Kushner, his own son-in-law and businessman, in Donald Trump's mind, this is the vehicle that is going to become the alternative for the United Nations Security Council. And so he's reaching out to all of these countries, asking them to come and join, pay $1 billion. He will be the chairman of this Board of Peace. He will uniquely decide who gets to sit round the table and who doesn't. He will be the chairman, by the way, in perpetuity. Not if he leaves office, not when he leaves office, he moves on and the next American president becomes the chairman of the Board of Peace.
Oh boy.
This is his baby. He controls all the cash, and they evidently see this as a vehicle that is going to leech authority away from the United Nations Security Council and become an alternative to it. So to the extent that the Prime Minister did something right today, turning around and saying we're having nothing to do with this is absolutely the right move, because all of the reporting this weekend presented this almost in kind of like Dr. Evil terms in reference to what he plans to do with this vehicle. Huge questions in this for Sir Tony Blair, who I see over the weekend was referring questions about the Board of Peace to the White House. I mean, I think he's got to ask some serious questions himself about whether he actually really truly wants to be part of this, given what appears to be worldwide eternal ambitions for an institution that Donald Trump personally intends to control.
Oh, boy. This might be one of your finest hours, actually. I wish they wouldn't keep giving us so much material. I really do. But Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin tells us, will be sitting on this panel if he wants to. I mean, at what point do we just throw our hands up in the air and give up attempts to make sense of it all and tie it all together? You clearly are... Well, I've been on for 3 hours. You've only just got up, so I'm allowed to be a bit more beleaguered than you are at this point in proceedings.
Well, I mean, let me just offer this thought. Tomorrow, for reasons that are absolutely incomprehensible to me, the Speaker of the House of Representatives is going to be addressing Parliament, Mike Johnson. He's in London. And I know this is all part of our celebration of America's 250 years and, you know, hashtag Greater Together, which is the hashtag the British Embassy here is using to describe the eternal partnership, the special relationship that exists across the Atlantic. Mike Johnson is second in line for the presidency after Vice President J.D. Vance. So he's an important guy. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, 10 days ago, only 10 days ago, was asked about reports that Marco Rubio had told a closed-door session of Republican lawmakers that Donald Trump was now much more interested in the idea of buying Greenland than in necessarily using gunboats to try and seize it by force. Mike Johnson was asked about that after he emerged from the meeting. Was it true that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, had said America wanted to buy Greenland? And Johnson's response was, yeah, I heard him say something about that. He did say that the president was now thinking of, you know, trying to buy it. But it was all said with a smile on his face, and it all felt like it was a bit of a joke. That was where the man, second in line to the American presidency behind J.D. Vance, was 10 to 12 days ago. And now we've come all the way to the point where the entire transatlantic relationship is on the brink of collapse over his own president's behaviour. So they should be asking him behind the scenes some really tough questions if they truly think that they can resolve all of this based on partnership, facts and mutual respect.
And mature alliances. Final question. How much is the US hurting itself, potentially? I mean, you've given us most of the jigsaw pieces that we need here, but just pop them together for us, would you?
Well, I mean, you know, I consume a lot of British products here in the United States, as you would imagine, and I certainly went out shopping this weekend and stocked up ahead of price rises. I mean, I think if I was an American in the mood for a decent single malt from Scotland or a Land Rover, or if I was one of the millions of Americans who are now injecting themselves with Danish-made Ozempic, 100% made in Denmark, and again, huge leverage there, by by the way. Were I engaged in the use of Ozempic, I think I'd be pretty concerned. I think I'd be getting out there and stocking up as rapidly as possible. Because remember, despite what Donald Trump says, the tariffs get passed on to American consumers in the form of price rises. So all of those British-made cars that we export to the United States, that were supposedly, going to be at the heart of that partial trade deal last year, all of those are about to be jacked up by 10% on February the 1st, 25% on June the 1st. And so, yes, I mean, for Americans out there, all over the country, whether they realise it or not, prices once again are going to come under pressure as a direct result of their own president's extraordinary actions.